Sometimes we say that it's easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. And so we say, well, we'll just do things and then we'll ask for forgiveness later if someone doesn't like it. But that's not always true. This story happened when we lived in Dryden and I worked for Northern Youth Programs. We had bought a property, the organization had bought a property next to Beaver Lake Camp, and it was about 240 acres, and we were going to use it for um, trails for campers and that kind of thing. However, we needed the money from the timber on the property to help pay for the property. So before we bought it, I had got a local logging contractor to come and tell me how much the timber was worth. And then after we bought it, we were getting ready to log the property. But there were two problems. One is the property had never been surveyed. So there was no definite property line defined. And secondly, the property owner on the south side of this property was a rather uh, difficult person to get along with. And uh, so I was nervous and about what to do. We could get the property line surveyed, but that would have cost us between $5,000 and $10,000. The other option was to get someone to come in and mark it with a GPS. And they told me that a GPS marking would be close. It would be within maybe 25 feet of where the line is, but it wouldn't be exact. Well, I was worried that if we marked it with a GPS and then we logged it, that this neighbor on the south would get upset. So I felt like I needed his permission, and I felt like, well, if he says we have to survey it, then we'll just have to survey it. I thought if he would allow us just to mark it with a GPS, and then I could stay back as far as he wanted from the border. So I decided to go see him. I screwed up my courage and went to his house, and I went there several times, and he was never home. And then about the third time I went to his house, there was a note on the door for someone else that said, I'm not home. I'm working at this marine supply place in town. Okay, now I know where he is, so I'll go find him there. So I got ready. I went into the marine supply place. When I walked in the door, I was very, very nervous, and I didn't know this neighbor man by face. I wouldn't have recognized him if I met him on the street. If I walked into the store and he was there, I wouldn't have known that it was him for sure. So when I walked in, there behind the counter was a lady named Joan. Joan had worked at a computer supply place before, and I would frequent there, and so as a customer, and so Joan and I, we would tease each other and had a joking relationship. So when I walked in, there was a man behind the counter, and Joan was there. When I walked in, Joan said, "Oh, Merle's here. Be careful." And and I thought, "Oh, Joan, don't do that. Like I don't. This is serious, and I don't even know. Maybe this man is the man that I'm looking for. I didn't know." So she said, "What do you want?" And so I told her, "Well, I'm looking for this man." And I asked, and then the man came over and I said, "I'm told him I'm looking for this man. And wondered, is he there?" He said, "Well, it depends who you are and what you want with him. So what's your business with him?" Oh, maybe this is him. I didn't know. So I told him a little bit what I wanted. He said, "Oh, he's in the back room." So I went back there. I had to start all over. And I got up my courage and started talking to him about the property and told him, we want to log it just to get the money from the timber, but we're not planning to build anything on the property. We're not planning to develop it in any way. We're going to let it grow back up. We just want to make trails there for campers. And the problem is it's never been surveyed. We don't know exactly where the line is. And we can mark it with a GPS, but then that's not exact. So I'd really like to just be able to mark it with a GPS, but I'll stay back as far as you want from the GPS marking. If you want me to stay 100 feet back from the GPS marking, 200 feet, 300 feet, tell me how far you want me to stay away from the border that we mark with a GPS, and I'll do whatever you say. And he said, well, you know, some people, they just do what they're going to do. They don't tell you anything. And he said, I don't like that. I like people who are upfront with me and tell me what they're going to do. So he said, you can mark it with a GPS. You can cut right up to that line. I don't really care. That'll be fine. Uh, okay, well, thank you. Um, and he said, but while you're here, I have another question I'd like to ask you, if I may. Sure, go ahead. And he said, does the Bible say that you need to run at 6 o'clock in the morning? He said, I get up and I go to work, and at 6 o'clock, I see your people out along the road running. And I've always wondered, does the Bible say that they need to do that? No, the Bible doesn't say that we need to run at 6 o'clock in the morning. The Bible doesn't say anything about what time to get up in the morning. That's not, it doesn't have anything to do with the Bible. And you say, I guess that would just be inner motivation, wouldn't it? And I said, yeah, that's right. That's inner motivation. So I learned two lessons that day. One is sometimes it's easier and better in the long run to get permission rather than to do something and then ask for forgiveness. Secondly, some of the most significant things in life happen because of inner motivation, not because somebody tells us we need to do it.